Hi, welcome to Virtually Sunday, a production of Whatsoever You Do Incorporated in Green Bay. My name's Tony Pichler.
And I'm Steve Meyer. And Tony, we were talking before that we should rename this podcast instead of Virtually Sunday, Wing and a Prayer.
Right, a new subtitle.
It's called Wing and a Prayer because that's how we roll.
No, we're giving a false impression. We've given this parable, this story of the gospel, a lot of thought this week.
It's a great story.
It's a great story. So the gospel this weekend is from the Gospel of St. Matthew, and it's the parable of the sower and the seed, which is one of my favorites. And you know, Steve, I keep saying that's one of my favorites. Well, it is.
Yeah,
It
you
is
treat gospel passages like beer.
I like
It's one of your favorites.
I like all of them. I like all of them. No, so this is just such a good story that Jesus taught, and it's so memorable. And I think probably, I'm guessing for many people, they're familiar with it. But let's just recap it just a little bit. So a sower goes out and he sows seeds around the ground, and some seeds fall on a path, and so the path's been trampled down, and the soil is hard, and so the seeds don't have a chance to sink in and germinate. So they die. They don't grow deep into the soil, and they die. So the second set of seeds, they get thrown into thorn bushes, and they start growing up, but the thorn bushes choke them off, and they quit growing as well. The third set of seeds is the one that gets thrown into and sowed into good soil, and those spring up and they produce multi-fold produce. So,
Yeah,
the gist of the story.
there are so many different ways that we can interpret this story. I think the sheer brilliance of the story as literature is all of the layers, and it's tough to focus on just one or even two. But
That's so true of so many of the parables.
It really is.
There's
That's
so many layers you can look at.
brilliance of that man. I mean, if you just set aside the religion and the gospel and look at it as literature, it's like, or poetry is just absolutely phenomenally brilliant. But this particular story, it challenges us, to think about where we scatter seeds. Because we can, how much do we worry about where we scatter seeds? Are we worried about, making sure it's going to bear fruit? Or do we just go willy-nilly and throw it everywhere and let God take care of it, right? So the parable calls us to sow with faith.
Right.
And that's a big piece of it. But even before that, it calls us to be sowers.
Mm-hmm. And so lavishly. I always love that part of the story. It's like he doesn't go, like we might hold a row and then pluck a few seeds in. He's just like throwing these seeds out.
Everywhere. And I think it's really counterculture for us in our world today, because we are really raised and programmed to be consumers with an investment mindset. What am I getting for what I give? Right? And the sower doesn't worry about that. The sower just worries about scattering and giving lavishly. So that challenges us.
Right. And it's also, there's no guarantee, right? The other part I love about the sower of the seed is that when he lavishly sows the seeds, there's no guarantee that the seeds are gonna germinate, that they're gonna grow. It's all done, as you say, in faith. I love this this prayer that's called the Romero prayer. Some people will attribute it to Oscar Romero, but he didn't write it. It was written by a bishop over in Michigan, Father Bishop Ken Utner, and he has this line in this prayer, and he says, "We sow seeds that one day may grow." And I love that line because I love the word in the line that says may. Three-letter word, big word there. They may grow. They may not grow. We don't know, but in faith, we lavishly sow the seeds.
And that echoes that whole Eastern proverbial notion about love and wisdom is about planting trees under whose shade we will never rest. And so as a sower, we're challenged to invest our energy in our lives in someone else who will reap the harvest.
And other cultures teach us that, I think, so very well. I was remembering a time when a group of us were in Winnebago, Nebraska. It's a Native American reservation in northern Nebraska. And we were on a service trip called Young Neighbors in Action. And our site coordinator, her name was Sarah Snake. She was the HR director for the tribe in that area on the reservation. And so she was telling the young people about her role, and they're asking about what she does and what she provides to the people. And she said, well, it's much like what you would have with your parents' organizations or businesses or whatever, that, they need an income, but they also need benefits. And so they need, insurance, and they need retirement. And the kid said, oh, so you have retirement? And she says, well, we offer it, but I don't take it. And the reason I don't take it is because I believe that I provide for my people now. And one day when I'm old and gray and can't work anymore, somebody will provide for me.
Mm-hmm.
So she's sowing these seeds of love in the present, knowing in faith that somebody will sow the seeds of love in her life in the future.
So that's a cultural notion that we see in a lot of Native American cultures, a lot of Eastern cultures, and somehow in our Western culture, we've lost some of that. And I think in losing that, we lose our sense of continuity with life. So what she was saying is I take care of people who came before me.
Yeah.
And I understand with faith that people who come after me will also pay that forward.
Absolutely.
And then I'm part of this continuity, which is very much on par with the Native Americans' idea of 7 generations,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Making all decisions based on how they affect the generations before me and after me. And I find that so compelling, right? Because it's a sense of I am not an island. I am part of a whole that has continuity, and I am here not as the beneficiary of my life, but as a contributor to a far greater, bigger life.
Which is so opposite of what we began with in that whole consumer notion of what's in it for me. It's not what's in it for me. That's not the question. The question is, how can I sow seeds of love in other people's lives so that they're provided for, they're taken care of, and everybody has what they need?
Because the truth of the matter is, Tony, whether we do it intentionally or not, we're all sowers. Mm-hmm. Our actions are planting something, right? And the question we have to ask is, who is it planting for, but what are we planting? Mm-hmm. So you had mentioned sowing seeds of love, right? And we believe as followers of this Christ that we are called to be sowers of love, of mercy, of compassion, of generosity of spirit, and so forth. But we're putting energy out into the world, into this creation, whether we're conscious of it or not. And the parable of the sower asks us to be conscious of it, because oftentimes we're putting out seeds of anger, bitterness, division, judgmentalism, hatred. We're allowing ourselves to be used as sowers of seeds that are dark rather than sowers of seeds that are light.
Right. So hopefully the seeds of love have been planted in all of our lives. And so the question becomes, so who has planted seeds of love in your life? And a second, I think, equally good question would be, so whose life are you sowing seeds into? Whose life are you showing love to and sowing love into?
Yeah, it's a great question, because that also challenges us to be faithful, not intentional, because when we say whose life, if we can become intentional, then we're planting seeds one by one instead of scattering them, right? And as a parent and a grandparent, right, when we're sowing seeds, we don't know if they're landing and taking root or not. We may never know.
One day they may grow.
I think we get to see it when our children become parents and so forth. Sure. But it's like, that was wow, I did not realize that what I taught you 34 years ago is taking root.
And you can stand back and say, it is good. It is good.
It is good. And hopefully we can see that the seeds that we're sowing for our children and grandchildren were first sown by our parents and grandparents into us. Right. And so you get that continuity.
And it brings us right back to the 7 generations of our Native American brothers and sisters.
And that we are not islands in time, but we are points on a continuity of unfolding revelation.
Well, Steve, as we wrap up this reflection, as we always do, why don't you send us off with a blessing?
Oh, may the seeds of the Spirit's love rain down upon you. May the seeds of the Spirit's love stir the heart within you. And may the seeds of the Spirit's love flow into the world through you. Have a great week.
Thanks for being with us, everyone.